Hey there. So, here it is about the middle of May. And it's, I think, appropriate. I'd like to read you something, actually, out of this thing. Let me show it to you here in the title page. See, it's this... Oops. There we go. The Plague by Albert Camus. And in this he says, thus, week by week, the prisoners of plague put up what fight they could. Some, like Rambert, one of the protagonists in the story, even contrived to fancy they were still behaving as free men and had the power of choice. But actually, it would have been truer to say that by this time, mid-August, the plague had swallowed up everything and everyone. No longer were there individual destinies, only a collective destiny, made of plague and the emotions shared by all. Strongest of these emotions was the sense of exile and of deprivation, with all cross-currents of revolt and fear set up by these. This is why the narrator thinks this moment, registering the climax of the summer heat and the disease, the best for describing on general lines and by way of illustration the excesses of the living, burials of the dead, and the plight of parted lovers. Now you see, I really don't hear anything like that coming out of the popular media in response to this. You know, especially on Facebook. I suppose I should get off Facebook, maybe. So, again, it's about May, 1st of May. No, it's about mid-May, May 15th, somewhere in there. And I was really kind of more focused on doing a video right after Easter, you know, within the week. Because the last video I did, I called out. I said, look, if you're going to go to church, chances are you're going to get sick. And sure enough, there were a lot of stories about how defiant preachers were some of the first to get sick and die of corona last month and up through now. And see, the part here in this book, The Plague, Albert Camus, he was showing the fact that these people had respect. His generation had respect for disease and what it could do. Doesn't seem as though that's a component of our world, of our society at present. So, I wanted to do a video back right after Easter concerning the story of the Mary thing. The one part about it happened sometime in Easter or something like that. But it's where there's something in the Catholic Church, there's some procedures where they kind of honor Mary as Christ's mother after Christ's death. And it's right around kind of like part of the Easter celebration or something like that, from what I can put together, I suppose. Whatever, it seems to be at the edge of what I really consider important, but that's not true. Look, in a very real, personal way, God has allowed me to see the story through his point of view. As he was on the cross, he willed Mary a son, someone he knew. And as this was God on earth, he willed that guy to be Mary's son, so that, and this was an act of God now, so that Mary did not suffer that loss. Because you see, at this point, this was not about Mary any further. This was about Christ as God on earth. So, that's the real thing, that it seems as though, for some really deeply personal reasons, it helped me out quite a bit to know that from God's point of view. Quite a bit at the time. The amount of suffering I was going through, it really did help. Helped me immensely. So it's not about, and so there was this another part about that though. Prior to, there's another story in the Bible a bit about a prophecy being delivered, and in that it kind of like, you can tell the first part of it, the first part of the story and the prophecy was true, but there seemed to be an addition. That addition seemed to be there to validate Mary, and that's what was not true. Yeah. One of these days I'll probably sit here with the Bible and point all this stuff out to you guys, but at the moment, certain other things, because I hope you can realize the significance of the idea here. See, it's like we're at a point in time where the Christian religion has so failed humanity that the story of Christ is in jeopardy of being lost to humanity for all time. Now, if Christ wasn't God on earth or anything, fine. But as he was, now it appears as though he has put forth a fix, which is this new dogma that he has tasked me to deliver to this world. And that is the idea that our relationship to God is a process of creation of unique individuality. It is not a struggle between the forces of good and evil. And with that as the actual relationship between us and God, individuality becomes the paramount mission, the primary goal, the absolute objective. That's how you know then what is righteous and in a lot of ways what is not. One of the hardest things is for people in this time is to think this with that. I mean, the very nature of human thought at this point in human history is that it is all this from that, right down to the basic concepts of day and night. The only way you're going to be able to get over that is through a process of evolution on your brain, by getting you off of the earth in a way that the only way the human being is going to continue to be successful is if we colonize the solar system and then move out into space. And I imagine there'll come a technology that'll get us there, because it is our destiny. So that seems to be, so it seems to be as though this with that thought is the basic platform for one to achieve enlightenment. Which the answer then really is, see, when it goes in that direction, then you know that it works a lot better with the universe than it does with the idea of day from night, which is not a reality once you get off the earth now. And therefore, what is often described in a lot of religious works, especially within what is it, the God of Abraham texts, they all seem to hover around this idea, the synchronicity of the planet, orbiting on its axis, and thereby giving this day from night thing. Even in Genesis it goes on and on about that. Separated the day from the night, and there you have it. This from that thought logic, proven by the basic construct of your religious dogma. It causes you then to have a platform by which an antithesis to the will of God can then arise in the form of evil. And now you're going to hire police departments and create laws. Suffering. Yeah, let's call that a divine experience. So, and then demand everybody conform to something that no one is, which is the obedient, godly fucking servant. Like all these preachers think people should be. They just want a tithe. They just want you to pay them to tell you that you're a sinner. And that's the thing about Christ, see. He died a death on the cross, and as this was God, and as God died a death, now look there. It's just a compartmentalized state of consciousness, and as it's a compartmentalized state of consciousness, you have this true understanding that it's going to come to an end. And it's the death is what then, is staring you in the face. But because you are, you don't have continuity with your previous and post existences, third dimensional space, then you really, that it's necessary for it to be like that to craft you unique by it, see? And in that state of compartmentalization, it's a unique one. The emotions you feel cut you severely in that state. And that's what makes you individually you, and therefore that's what this is, the process of creation. So you see, that's why the society then, and laws and rules and ideas that govern the momentum of the world and all that kind of stuff, as far as where we're going to go. Like if we're going to, put a gun to our head and kill ourselves because, oh my God, my left brain is telling my right brain, this from that, there you have it. So, that's where it leads you. The idea that this is a struggle between opposing forces is not supported by the reality of this universe, which is why this universe and everything in it doesn't make sense when that is the idea that's put forward by religion that attempts to explain our relationship with God, should there ever be one. That's the thing. Damn. I wish I didn't have to rescue the story of Christ, in that way. I wish I could let it, because we're at a point in time, look, Christianity is beyond absurd, because what they've done, and this is the case for all three of the religions of Abraham. They have defined God as being perfect. And then everything else in the universe must be perfect to satisfy a perfect God. So, there you have your reason for pagan governance. To make you perfect. And then what the hell is perfect? That's an abstract idea, based on an individual perception. Because you see, what is perfect to me is not perfect to you, and what's perfect to you is not perfect to somebody else, so there ain't gonna be no peace with that kind of shit. That's for sure. And in that, it's bullshit, see? Because it causes division. It's this from that, them from us, right from wrong, good from evil. You against yourself, in the end, is really how it ends up being. Because I honestly don't know how the hell this got here, how the hell religion got so damn corrupt. Well, it tried to govern, I think. That's really what it is. People try to use religion as governance, put God upon a throne and say that he's perfect, and that he demands everybody be perfect. And yet, and then the way that the Jews say it, like they have a contract with him, see? And then when God didn't save them in the Holocaust, in a lot of ways he kind of didn't. And then in that way they failed. He didn't hold up his end of the contractual bargain for a lot of them. See. And he then fails at governance, because how could God let this happen? It was like what a lot of them were saying. I even talked to a guy who was a survivor from, face to face. This was an amazing experience for me. And that's what he told me. He said that it's like he's got this personal thing against God. See. And it's absolutely fine. It's absolutely a-okay. But see, when religion makes the mistaken idea that God sits upon the throne and that what he's about governance, which then gives them the right to then govern you to be perfect, when they make that mistake, when they bring perfection into the equation, now your dogma can't change, and if it can't change, it can't move forward in the future. Now, what if your dogma just happened to have in it the story of Christ? And let's say that this story of Christ, in a lot of ways, was God on earth for real. Well, how the hell are you going to get a religion to change? Well, somehow you put the fix in, I guess. And apparently that seems to be what this new message is. Somehow or another, I don't know how it happens. I don't even know if these videos have anything to do with it, really, ultimately, in the end. All I know is somehow or another, because this is God for real. Somehow or another, this gets out there. The idea that this is a creation process of unique individuality, and therefore, those ideas and religions and concepts that enhance individuality are the right course of action, where those that repress individuality in favor of an obedience to some conformity or something, those are not so righteous that religion would have us think they are. And that's from God for real. And that's the message that gets forward some enough to where the story of Christ moves to the future. Because you see, this was God on earth after all. And how unfortunate for the Christians of these times. It's been like that encapsulated belief, so to speak, that's been right there in front of them the whole time, that is now kind of like made it to the future enough to where we can then pull it over the barrier between the age of magic and mysticism and the age of logic and reason, so that it can finally, the future of the society can then get on with being in the future. Because what's holding us back is that religion that demands everything stay the same, because it's about what? Perfection. And how dare we say that dogma must change? And when you're this from that in your erroneous beliefs, because your mind is still in the early hominid state in evolution, to where you don't think this with that inherently at the base of your consciousness. You're still thinking this from that, day from night, good from evil, them from us. Hysteria. Oh, shit. Thank God there is a God, though. Because now everything makes sense and the universe makes sense. But what sucks is, it's so frustrating for it to be like a curse in this way, to where I just can't get it across, It's like I'm on the island of enlightenment in this vast ocean of holy shit. Well, so don't have anything more to say, really. I was just kind of holding on to that thing, though, from April. That was bothering me for quite some time. Because, see, resurrection is a truth. It's an absolute divine truth. And I've got to tell you, eventually, what that real truth is. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to. And I know it would be wrong of me to even, well, it's like saying you hate America in a way. You know, how dare you? It's gonna be one of those off the cliff kind of things. So, shit. I'm gonna have to say it sometime, but yeah, stay tuned. So with that then, so it's this therapy session, you might say. We'll talk to you.